Hello. Sorry, I got a little bit of a late start here. Just gonna give it a second to let people get some time to get in here before I start. Can everyone hear me okay? That is in there? One. Hey, thank you for being here, by the way, Chris. Like I said, I'm just gonna give it just another second. See if we can get a few people in here. I've got a count of one. And I know who the one is. Alrighty. Alright, we're up to 2. I'm just gonna give it another second before I get started. Is my audio okay, everyone? All right. After the other night, I might not get too many people. I'm really hopeful that a few of the choice people I invited can make it. So if I share the link to join, should they have any questions, doubts, whatever, they'll be able to hop on here and give me a piece of knowledge bomb. But yeah, tonight I'm probably not going to have anyone that just wants to yell at me, but if they have facts ready to go and sources, I am down with the clown. No, not down with the clown. Yeah, I am, but regardless. All right. It's going to give it 1 more minute, literally, and then I will get started. Because there's always that replay, and people like to shimmy in late anyway. So as long as it's fashionable, I mean. It works. Once again, anyone in the chat, is my audio good? Oh, okay, cool. It's all gravy. Up to 3. Is my audio okay, though? If you're in the past, just drag the slider to current. I don't know. I've got about 5 minutes on. I'm just trying to let more than 2 or 3 people come in here before I start, so I don't have to be circle back Saki tonight. It's nice to actually have show notes this time and not just be going crazy and trying to remember things and going crazy or doing so. All right, we are going to just proceed then. Yeah, you might be in the past, Chrissy, because I still haven't got a reply to you on my audio or from you. All right, I guess I am going to go ahead and start since no feedback on how I sound, video okay, everything else. So let's do it. And all right. All right. If you're here, chances are you know who I am, so I'm not even going to worry about introducing myself. I was watching a guy by the name of Jeffrey Daugherty. He's known as a Christian whistleblower, and he brought some suspicious things to my attention through a video he did not long ago. And now I want to start out by saying, before I say another word, that I am in no way saying anything bad or questioning the intentions of the truckers that have been out there every day on this strike. I can't stress enough that I support their cause, but it seems that the people who started their cause may have had other intentions for the entire freedom strike in the first place, other than either that or they were tricked. But it appears at least one of the two, Mr. Downing, is pretty close with some shady characters. And I'm going to start off by saying what I do know, what I have here referenced, which I will add links on the YouTube version of this after the live stream, so that people can see the references I do have. I just didn't get the chance to add them beforehand because it has been a long day. But if you happen to pop by the other night, that night was longer, so we're not even going to get into that. Let's just brass tacks. All right, so all right, Peter Downing and Pat King, as far as I am aware, are the two that organized this, and they members of the former Wexit party, now I'm guessing is called the Maverick Party, or not guessing, but I understand it's called the Maverick Party. I'm not sure if Downing is still a member of said party, but alas, Pat King and Peter Downing have ties to. Let me start at the beginning here. All right. Peter Downing, he is someone of a criminal past. Research has revealed that, and based on the Civilian Intelligence Network website, it's a Canadian website, by the way, as the RCMP commissioner pledges to streamline the force's disciplinary process, a former St. Albert officer has been off the job with pay for nearly 2 years, despite a criminal conviction, disciplinary charges, and a memo questioning his reliability on the stand. But even with all those black marks, The force has raised the possibility of a departure with an extended severance, funding for his education, and a clean service record. The officer, Constable Peter Downing, worked in both St. Albert and Morinville and remains on administrative leave after a lengthy suspicion related to criminal charges of uttering threats. Downing was convicted of those charges last summer and lost an appeal. And that is, let's see, that is according to the Civilian Intelligence Network. And I'll let people get where they've cited their sources beyond that. And let's see here. He also has ties to the Christian Heritage Party and neo-Nazi. Let me explain that there. Candidate in the Peter Downing was a Christian Heritage Party candidate in the 2015 federal election, a party which openly campaigns for enacting repressive and radical Christian doctrine as federal law. And let's see. All right. So basically I have a quote here. I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's kind of long, but it appears that he was basically trying to keep people from that were LGBT from being on a bus for just regular Calgary Transit. And that was because he genuinely felt it violated his religious conscience. And the biggest objection I have to the two cats, because I know I haven't really talked about Pat King a whole lot here, but what worries me the most is they have both been regularly sharing everything Diane Francis says. And she, let's see, she is, I forget her exact connection there. I'm not sure if she's on the Maverick Party here or actually was connected through Wexit before it was the Maverick Party. But Diane Francis sits on the board of the Atlantic Council, a well-known globalist outfit with George Soros sitting on the very same council, to my knowledge. Peter Downing and Pat King and so forth are, as of late, reposting corporate news articles written by Diane Francis to their social media as well. Now, if you're not familiar with the Atlantic Council, that is the very same council that, all right, if you are aware of the Facebook whistleblower debacle a while back and the whole congressional hearings and whatnot, I believe she mentioned something about Facebook being paid to interfere in the elections on behalf of the Atlantic Council. And that is, once again, I don't recall exactly, so don't quote me on this. It was either funded or is owned by Burisma Holdings, which is the energy company in Ukraine that basically has been linked, as far as everything I can find anywhere goes, to being the actual source of the funds for that. And hello, glad you two could make it. Sorry, I hadn't looked at the chat in a minute. All right. Now, Wexit, as far as their funding goes, well, when it was Wexit before the Maverick Party, I'm not sure if it switched from one to the other. My memory is failing me at this moment because I am not the greatest at being on the spot. And this is actually the first time I've tried really live streaming with any sort of coherency and not video games. So you'll have to pardon me there. I've got tons of show notes and they're not well organized at the moment because things always seem to come up whenever I have something to do. But that is the breaks, especially with life. Anyway, goodness. All right. Sources. All right. There was less than 2 weeks ahead of the federal elections. Rumors of an explosive sex scandal were percolating at the highest echelons of Canada's media establishment. And Ottawa's longest tenured political observers have been expecting a career ending expose about Trudeau and, allegations of all sorts of sexual misconducts. And yet, none of those came. And the source of that is, let's see here. Well, let me circle back just a bit. Trudeau's accuser is said to be a former student at West Point Grey Academy, and it's supposedly the daughter of a wealthy Canadian businessman. And she is being represented by counsel and is being offered monetary compensation in exchange for a pending but not yet signed non-disclosure agreement. And I have no more on that. However, there's no response as far as those allegations go. And now I'm bad at time order here, obviously, but the question is Peter Downing, who is the figurehead of the Wexit movement, whether he is currently with the Maverick Party or not, but we see that he's a former RCMP officer, a former soldier, and a politician. And I've mentioned just a moment ago about his connections to the Atlantic Council. And what's strange is the Maverick Party has been campaigning for Alberta to be free and from Canada, and he has been lying to, the Albertans have been being deceived slightly here. And the Canadian International Council gave George Soros, who everyone, you either know him as the guy that does great things for countries everywhere, but most of us know him as the person who pretends to be a philanthropist while has his paws in seedy things like BLM and its creation. And let's see, what is the name of that place? I have it written down somewhere. However, let me find it real fast. All right. I'll get back to George Soros in a moment. I missed an important thing here that I believe I need to circle back to. Man, I didn't want to be like Circleback Saki, but it looks like that's my wow. I hope, yeah. Anyway. All right. The Wexit movement was seeking help from the UN, and that's an odd alliance since many of the people that were in that movement were opposed to the UN Global Compact on migration. And Downing won a referendum about bringing UN into the Wexit fold, or bringing the UN, into the Wexit fold. And he said an independent country in the middle of the prairies could take advantage of the UN Convention on the Right to Sea to gain access to a pipeline. And here's a direct quote. As an independent country, we have more freedom to channel our resources on the coast than in Canada. And that's what he had said after the election, and that they will have the best of both worlds, to keep the money and have access to the coast. Now, what Downing wasn't telling Albertans is that the UN Convention adopted in 1982 states that landlocked states enjoy freedom of transit through the territory of transit states by any means of transport. However, the conditions of transit must be agreed upon between the landlocked states, which would be Alberta and Canada itself, through bilateral or regional agreements, and that the states of transit have the right to protect their legitimate interests. And these rights are not absolute, and a possible independent country would have to talk to the other state, which would be Canada. And furthermore, the means of transport referred to in the conventions are railways, waterways, and roads. And the treaty specifies that landlocked and transit states will have to agree to add pipelines to that list. Now, the BC government has already shown resistance to the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, making a transit agreement all the more unlikely as well. So how far can Wexit proceed without Canada, and why exactly is Downing misleading Albertans? Now, I'm going to go to the funding of Wexit here. Just more of a Peter Downing thing, because I'm trying to establish the proper connection to the Atlantic Council, because they have a direct connection to said energy company, Burisma. Now, Wexit's founders seem to be hell-bent on establishing the narrative that they're an anti-globalist party from the West. And now Peter Downing and company are, as of late, reposting corporate news articles written by Diane Francis to their social media, and she has been their biggest supporter in the East. Now, Diane Francis, she's an American-born propagandist who has been the editor of Canada's National Post magazine since the late 90s. And let's see, the National Post became a subsidiary of U.S.-owned Post Media during Prime Minister Stephen Harper's government. The Americans put a Canadian face on the deal by selecting Paul Godfrey as Post Media CEO. Now, I don't even know what a diehard Tory is, so I'm not even going to worry about that sentence. Diane Francis does, in fact, sit on the board of the Atlantic Council, a well-known globalist outfit. And despite these obvious ties to globalism, the team at Wexit has absolutely no qualms having her cheerlead and endorse their cause. Now, let's see here. Now, as Millennial Millie, I'm pretty sure that is the one who mentioned this place that when I heard of it the first time, or maybe one of her cohorts in Shadowgate. However, Atlantic Council are the ones that funded CrowdStrike, and they're the firm that were used to cover up the source of the DNC and Clinton email leaks after the 2016 presidential election. And let's see here. And they also blamed Russian hackers for said data leak. However, it has been tied back to the Atlantic Council since then. And it's sad that still a lot of people have no idea and think that Trump actually did that. And I hate when people cherry pick what they watch on the news, what they believe and what they don't. But it is what it is, because mainstream media isn't news. It's propaganda. Everyone knows. But anyhow, let's see. What did I want to touch on before I get to brass tacks? Well, beyond linking everyone here. Let's see. Let me tell you about the Atlantic Council. They're a U.S.-based globalist swamp think tank, which was formed in 1961 behind the latest impeachment coup against Donald Trump. It's an organization that brings together George Soros, the Clintons, leading defense contractors, a powerful lobbying firm, well, tons of them, and notoriously biased media outlets such as CNN and Reuters. Big surprise, right? Now, those are under the same umbrella, every last one of them. The council is funded by and partners with Burisma, the Ukrainian energy company, which everyone knows paid Joe Biden's son Hunter. And they paid him $83,000 a month to serve as a consultant, and to my knowledge, he has no knowledge to consult on there. So that's shady anyway. Now, George Soros also is a major financier of the Atlantic Council, and he's been had his fingers in all sorts of pies, which brings up the disinfo campaign, manufacturing consent for escalations against Russia, like probably what you're seeing all over the mainstream media now and all over alternative media on Facebook, because they don't know any better apparently, and don't want to stand out. Well, to quote Eminem, if I get sniped tonight, you'll know why, because I told you to fight. And I'm not telling anyone to physically fight. I'm just telling people to wake up and see what's going on here before World War III does start, or before there's a civil war, anything like that, because all of this can be avoided if we just put our foot down and say no, which is actually the direction I'm going with this. But it's terrible that the Canadian International Council actually gave George Soros Globalist of the Year award, which unless hearing this changes things, or unless I'm a little off on what I am seeing the big picture of here, I don't think that the mandates are going to get dropped. There's been too much money, too many deals and reputations by Mr. I love putting on blackface Trudeau. How he's still in office, I have no idea. And there's plenty of videos of that all over the internet, and he seems very proud of it, which is kind of sick and sad. And people call Americans racist. Anyway, the Atlantic Council recently congratulated Soros for 17,000 civil society projects he's doing in Ukraine. Oh, if you guys remember, wasn't Biden, didn't he have a blunder of some sort with just wanting to reverse things Trump had done, giving Russia a bunch of power and money by shutting down a pipeline here? Because I seem to recall something like that. But maybe he wasn't just being stubborn and just flipping the script because Trump said one thing. You know, it doesn't matter. They're all state actors. And since 2001, to my knowledge, we've been under Emergency Powers Act as signed by every president, which puts continuity of government in control of the country anyway. So it doesn't matter what these acts of theater all over the country, the world say. Personally, everyone's probably going to scream at me for this, but I believe that we and Ukraine, crying wolf over there, are being the aggressors of Russia. And I'm just going to say it. I think we need to back off, because the war drums are rattling and they don't need to be. This can be solved pretty simply, I believe. Well, I doubt anyone's going to take the extra steps to throw these people in prison for misleading, putting lives at stake, crimes against humanity, possibly, if that is covered by nearly enacting war on false pretenses, which could take the lives of people of multiple countries all over the world. But who am I to say? Because that seems to be the agenda of the UN, since every one of these places are cooperating fully with the UN, with the exception of Russia. And I feel like they are trying to gang up on Russia and force the odd man out, even though they just want to be left alone. Last I read, they were just trying to get some Russian-speaking people out of Ukraine, and suddenly Burisma and Ukrainian leadership are all whining and getting their little lapdog Joe Biden to make sure things are pushed through to get. It was less than a week ago, I believe, a plane with a bunch of Class A armaments, Class 1, Class A, not sure what it's called, armaments, were flown over to Ukraine to prepare for war, which, yeah, I don't blame Russia whatsoever for claiming they're going to put on war exercises and, getting into a defensive position after we load someone who would benefit from Russia being blown off the map. Well, figuratively speaking, a lot, because I figure a lot of these smaller countries just would love to, split some of the spoils that they could be possibly promised. But let's get back to Canada. I let me say once again, I don't think that any of you average truckers out there, with maybe the exception of Pat King and Peter Downing, have any idea any of this is going on. You guys are the most important people. 50% of the United States, last I checked, get their food from you guys. You truckers in general are the most important people, period, right now. I mean, our shelves here in West Virginia have been more bare than they were when our own government was using subsidies and whatnot to make our shelves bare, and using old the grand old kingdom of California over there to stall all the supplies. And contact I have in Taiwan says there's not even a chip shortage. So really, what's going on here? It's time for people of America to wake up. I also have friends in Russia who explained to me why Germany was a little, I don't know what word I want to use here. Germany wasn't totally on board with aggressing towards Russia because to the knowledge of the person I was speaking to, which they are a rather famous inventor in Russia, and I'm going to protect my source. However, they told me that the last 200 years, Germany has practically been the hidden hand behind Russia, because the Romanovs all married Bavarian, Prussian, whatever you want to call old school Germany, married German women. And so they've been closely tied and highly influenced to my understanding. All right. Now, they also stated that to their belief, so this is not fact checked, but my source in Russia believes that Crimea may have been given over to the Russians by Ukrainian government without the knowledge of the Crimeans, and then decided to blame the Russians as the aggressors. And if that's true, then I mean, this game of possum and trying to start a war has been going on for a minute, but I digress. You truckers in Canada, you would have had no idea this was going on. And if it weren't for one of your fellow Canadians bringing this story to the Christian whistleblower, Jeffrey Darty, who I will source the video on after the stream in the show notes. But if it weren't for a Canadian tipping him off and him doing his due diligence, and I am always very impressed at how much due diligence that man has. He's excellent at taking things at face value and not putting anything more to it than what is there. And he brought it to my attention for a video recently that despite the truckers being excellent people and just being pawns possibly for a globalist agenda, and maybe the people that are going to get blamed for something later on, I don't know, don't quote me, I'm just speculating here. However, All right. I got lost there for a second because I really do feel bad for them. And if these mandates aren't lifted, where's Americans that rely on food being trucked over the border by them going to get their food? I mean, how many people actually support the garbage that was peddled out of Barracks Lab up there? Because from my understanding, as big as Wexit, or as big as the freedom protest is getting, I feel as if it might be a long time before we get food unless these mandates are nixed out of there. But maybe with this, people will get angry enough in Canada to bring this up and demand that they stop being used as pawns in the honkening to distract the world from what is going on. Because these war drums are just, I cannot flip to any channels or on YouTube today without hearing something about war drums being rattled, Russia being aggressors on Ukraine, blah, 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 yakety schmackety. But I mean, and then Steven Crowder, love him to death, but he's calling for civil war. And while I cannot stand the craziness that has gone on in the last couple of years since these truly evil people have taken power of this country, and maybe they've been in power for a while, maybe it's all been puppets, who am I to say? But to my understanding, since 1975, everything that Americans see anywhere has been more or less an active theater. And it just kills me that the truckers are being used as controlled opposition. But that's why it's gone on for so long and got as big as it has. And since so much money has been invested into vaccine passports up there in Canada, and Biden has promised Trudeau and promised that he's going to get vaccine passports passed here in America. Now, I know with my heart of hearts that that will never be allowed to happen, because people will rise up. People are not going to be confined around if they don't get that poison. And how many people actually even have passports in this country anyway? I honestly couldn't tell you, because I don't believe in them, and I've never had a need to leave the country. I love this country. Now, should the mandates end up sticking because of the globalists believing that they've already won all the time, and they completely always take us for a fool because we're their slaves, we make them money, that's all we are to them. And I believe that the time for these people to be in control has long gone. Now, at all costs, I do not want violence. I do not call for war. I call for people to know what's going on, what they're up against, and to unite as human beings, because this tyranny is going on all over the world. There's people. Sorry, I need to cool it. I get very impassioned about humankind as a people. No more divisions. There's no race. We have been here for much longer on this planet, and there's evidence of it than anyone even could conceive of, let alone be absolutely sure of. So, and I'm talking human beings, Homo sapiens sapien in their current form. Evolution, BS. Evolution can happen in a generation. It doesn't take a long time. And there's evidence all over the place that we coexisted with a larger species. And I don't want to get too far off track, but humankind should never, ever be split into anything more separated and compartmentalized than human being, because we all share the same genetic markers in some way or another. At some point, someone in our bloodline has mixed with every other type of person, no matter how they look on the planet, because we've been around an unholy amount of time. Well, unholy is probably a bad word to use there because obvious reasons. However, you get my point. Now, so I've made the connection to Soros and I've made the connection to Burisma. The money's just funneling down. So this is obviously controlled opposition. And there's rumblings of trying to get the protest of truckers going on down here. And all that's going to do is make Americans hungrier than they already are. I mean, unless your state happens to be one of the lucky few that I don't recall whether it's the majority of the Democrat states or the Republican states that were getting their food from China, and I believe another place food was coming from was it doesn't matter. However, roughly half the country gets their food shipped from Canadian truckers, and people get hangry. Everyone knows that. I mean, I was hangry the other night trying to do this the first time, and it just, I don't know. It made me time travel about 10 hours with nothing accomplished. But you guys know. Yeah. Anyway. All right. My speculation here as far as the agenda, why to all this. If you remember, I mentioned earlier that Biden had relinquished, by closing down the pipeline, a lot of different resources, money, all sorts of things to Russia. Well, with Russia being the holder of all these things, that would put Ukraine up there crying wolf, and the United States, which I'm calling it the United States because it's a corporation, and the United States of America, the country, their constitutional republic, whatever you want to call it, it's been gone since they put the Fed there. I'm sorry. It is what it is, but you can do the footwork yourself and believe what you want. But we haven't been a country in a long time. Even your children's schools are incorporated. If you don't believe me, go to Dun & Bradstreet website and you'll see I actually can provide the Dun & Bradstreet corporate numbers for my state, my country. The World Health Organization is a private corporation. Let's see. To my understanding, UK Ltd, UK Limited, the government of the United Kingdom, they recently, to my understanding, claimed they sold off all their or gave their assets to basically the Queen and her family, and some holding company also. I don't recall the name, but that's just one example. I mean, the people in the UK have already had basically anything that the crown could have claimed ownership just given away to private means. Oh, wow. I have no idea what that was, but it sounded like a gunshot went off outside. Anyway, I'm going to ignore it. Let's see. So where do we go with this? I mean, it appears to me that since Biden made a lot of promises about vaccine passports, that he's trying to get the mandates, he's going to uphold Trudeau and his enforcement of the mandates, because he's wrote a lot of checks that his mouth can't seem to cash. If you look at the infrastructure plan, which is going to cost our grandchildren, it's going to make them own nothing and like it, because they won't know any better. They're going to be poor. If that would have passed, they were. And you guys talking about the free daycare and all this stuff, who's going to pay for that? Because someone's going to. And if you remember, the dollar is that is about to pop. There's the dollar's worthless. I mean, Russia just either today or the other day have gone full speed ahead on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency. So you people that think that it's a trick and it's about to go out the window, if the bad guys win, yeah, maybe. But if we stand up and free ourselves from these, I hate to use the term because it's been attached to people that people, we'll just say the tinfoil hat wearers, which I'm no stranger to wearing a tinfoil hat. Thank you, by the way, Rex Bear. I wouldn't leave home without it, but you get my point. I mean, the stereotyping, the division that these notorious characters are causing, it's so that we'll be too distracted to see what's going on. And not, I just happen to be lucky. I don't claim to be smarter than anyone else. I don't claim to be anything, but someone who just happened to sit there and be fed pieces of the puzzle by choice people. And I believe that everything happens for a reason, but most of all, I think that's kind of countered by my belief in synchronicity. It's like when you got that feeling that you're on a path and you know where you're going, you can see the end game. And I mean, most of us, when we do see an end game like that, we don't know how to get there. We just follow our gut and do what we know is right. And as human beings, it is our obligation to do what is right if we want to continue in an existence where we have freedoms, where we are proud to be human beings. I mean, we have had our creativity suppressed, our knowledge suppressed. We have given up freedoms because of problem, reaction, solution, which I don't know how everyone is not aware that that's how these globalists work. They create the problem, they create the reactionary medium in which people flock to, and they create the solution. Now, do I know for sure that the globalists are doing this still? Because AI is more advanced than people would think, and it's not as humanistic as people would think either, to my knowledge. But that's another story, not even for here. Now, while I'm fairly certain that you guys can keep having your block party up there and they're not going to do anything about the mandates because they'll find a way to pass it or a way to make sure that you guys stop what you're doing. You know how they are. They're crazy and they think they've already won and we are slaves to them and they could care less as long as we comply. I think Trudeau's just a coward. That's why he's hiding somewhere. I mean, you guys told me that up there in Canada yourselves. So apparently it's common knowledge. I'm not even trying to speculate on that, but I do give it to you. You guys did something Australia definitely should have done, and my hats are off to you guys up there in Canada. That's for sure. Because I mean, personally, I didn't think you guys would stand up. I thought you guys would fold just like Australia did, and I am taking them back. Full apologies and proud of you guys, but it's only going to get harder from here. And I'm sure if you're from Canada and listening that you are well aware of that, especially now. I had not kept up very well on the honkening the last few days since I started getting these puzzle pieces from people like Millennial Millie Weaver, which I have the utmost respect for. And she does not get enough credit because if it weren't for her few puzzle pieces, I wouldn't have the confidence to sit here as I am now, risking possibly getting Clintoned, you know. Sorry, it's hard to say that and not laugh because Anyway, you know why. All right. Now, I'm not going to touch on any of the slightly religious aspects of things that I would hope would be able to empower everyone as human beings, but I guess the world's not ready for my opinion on that, and my opinion doesn't matter anyway, because that's what it is, just an opinion. But I believe there's some firm backing to the speculations that I've made as far as the end game of why Burisma Holdings and Ukraine itself have been pushing for this deception of the Canadian people as well as the rest of the world, since the world spotlight has been on them. And now I've been trying to reach out to you, Tim Pool and Steven Crowder, because I watch you guys. Big fan, especially being here in West Virginia as far as your residence goes, Tim. That I just found that out like a couple months back, and awesome. I'm proud to have you in the state, but this is, you live in a place where a lot of people from DC live, and I'm still not understanding why there's a ridiculous amount of federal plates on vehicles just randomly driving around here. But while we do have what was formerly known as the public debt, but now it's the Bureau of Fiscal Services, which not 100% what that means, but if I had to guess it, it would be they changed the name from the public debt because they wanted to get the reminder of how much Biden and the other globalist cronies have put the people of America in debt, and further so with this ridiculous payout that did nothing but make more millennials. Maybe, I don't know. I don't pay attention to other people because I'm only interested in the big picture when it comes to most people. Well, all people. The big picture is what I'm interested in 100%. And there are circumstances that are probably related to this situation that I'm not going to touch on as far as solar cycles and whatnot go, because to some of you, I probably sound crazy enough, but to others, you know exactly what I'm speaking on. And I think that this is all a distraction from that so that we'll just keep being good little worker bees. But personally, right now on the medium term, short term, I must stress that we need to step back, pump the brakes on this war against Russia, Jazz, and have the American fleets back off with a warning to Ukraine to cool their jets. I mean, this has gone too far. If I am even in part correct about my speculations as to Russia being more or less I don't want to say victim here, because I can't speak on a lot of things Russia may or may have not done, because I live in a country where I'm not allowed to know such things to be the truth. And I don't appreciate that at all. Human beings have a right to know what's going on if they're getting information from someone who is supposed to be the media. And in my opinion, and I'm sure in most Americans or any human's opinion, the mainstream media should be thrown in jail based on complicity. And for forcing vaccinations on people that are so dangerous and untested. And I'm not monetized, so you can take my channel and shove it, YouTube. I mean, for forcing something so deadly that can kill a child, a male child under 8 years old, just like that, who would have been perfectly healthy otherwise, but had 20% of the ability for his heart muscles to work, just because criminals want their agendas pushed through and are trying to cash checks at their mouth throat. That is a crime against humanity. We need to put based on the Nuremberg trials, we need to put these pharmaceutical industry people in prison. We need to put everyone in charge of this country and Canada, from the way it sounds, in prison. We need to focus our efforts on investigating Ukraine and what they were really up to, because all I've seen is shady criminal stuff coming out of there, and criminals like Soros funding these things. And I mean, Bill Gates, why isn't anything being really truly investigated about him and the island of Dr. Moreau, I'm going to call it, because I don't even like giving that guy a name to give him power. It might as well be a bunch of mutants traipsing about some place that was paradise until unholy energy was put there just to pollute Mother Earth a little more. I mean, this is ridiculous. And any of you who still believe everything they see on TV are ridiculous. You need to wake up. The facts are all out there. The connections are there. I've painted plenty of pictures here, all of which have good root in fact. And the speculation, I mean, what else could you speculate? It's obvious to me that we, as America, I'll say it this way. It's obvious to me that the people in charge of this country are trying to make it so we are thinking that we have to go to war with Russia. And Russia, according to my contact, has basically said that they're just going to pull the, they're just going to do the mutually assured destruction response if we aggress too far. So that's why I stress more than anything, pump the brakes. If all the Russians over there are believing that that's the first thing they're going to do, because I mean, they have no choice or no possibility of beating the United States Army, especially with the UN and all their evility, to quote Austin Powers. Well, the movie, not the character. There's no way they could beat us. So what other option would they have? And Putin is Putin's ex KGB. He's not going to just bitch out entirely. Like, I'm sorry, I used to love you, Joe Rogan did, with these cancel culture people, because I still can't believe you did that. But Joe Rogan, I believe you could have actually been the mouthpiece had you been looking and not been distracted by the cancel culture that could have led us out of this situation. And for all we know, you could have been appointed as president if all the people in the government were being toppled by the most level-headed and intelligent news source that is able to look at the big picture. And you backing down to these criminals, I don't know whether they had something on you, but I hope you make up for it to all of us people who truly looked up to you. But that's enough ass kissing from me. Where do we go from here? It's obvious that, I mean, there's a good chance that Biden or whoever is making the rules has been playing this out for a while. I don't know if all the presidents since the Emergency Powers Act had first been signed and whatnot have been even behind any of this or complicit in allowing it to happen or having no choice. It's hard to tell, because the assistant director of the CIA said back in, I believe, 75, that his job will be complete when not one single American has any clue of anything real any longer. And the the rumors, or maybe it was his autobiography or his son that Shadow wrote. I don't remember, but somewhere I saw that he said on his deathbed that his mission couldn't have turned out more complete. And that worries me. Now, despite my counter only says there's 5 people here, I know this is going to get around, and it's going to actually not be basically seen as a farce as the stream the other night did. But whoever was hitting me with those denial of service attacks and also gaining access to my network and taking out my security cameras, it seemed you only gave me more reserve. And I don't know if that was a meth head I had to chase out of my yard, or if it was someone about to be notorious until they saw an air-powered crossbow bolt firing weapon leveled at them. But you've only strengthened my reserve. To someone who has nothing but helping humanity and nothing but the truth to live for, there's nothing you can do to scare me away, because I have no fear. So Clinton me, make me a martyr. I care not. I just want the people to know the truth and see things the way I can see them. It seems clear that Russia was given all those extra powers so that more people would hate them. Rising gas prices, blame Russia, blame Biden. You know, everyone's just pointing the finger at everyone else, and yet no one's actually doing anything about it. I mean, it's like the greatest lie ever told to humanity was that we were born with original sin, but the fear and guilt and control that comes with that lie, when we were all born with the Spirit, that light of divinity within us. And because of the lie, we have sat here waiting on someone to come save us, just because things resemble revelation or whatever the reason may be. People thinking Trump is going to magically pop out of a cake and start, beaming magic beams to everyone like, hey, you're free, you're free, you're free, you're free. I'm saving the world. No. It's up to us to stop being distracted by all this nonsense and get our heads screwed on correctly ourselves, because no one is coming to save us. We are slaves in a sinking ship, every single human on this planet, until we wake up and until we gather together, have real discussions, get these fake reporters out of mainstream media to stop polluting the minds of others, or even give them the option to, switch sides and do the right thing, with the exceptions of maybe the ones that have done some very vile things. But that's not up for me to decide. That'd be up for decision by the people and for the people, if it's to be done right. And I think it's been a long time coming that anything has happened by the people for the people, because looking back, despite what I was indoctrinated to believe my entire life, because of giving government so much power that they choose what we're taught in school, whether it's real or completely fictitious. Leaving out plasma science and leaving out other important things like the existence of the ether. And it's no surprise that they can't find dark matter and are pumping billions of dollars into that whole fruitless search. Unless they're completely aware of it and are just funneling the money into something else, like maybe we've had the Space Force a lot longer than we've been told. Maybe that's why there hasn't been a lot of change seen as far as that department goes. And maybe Trump was making the announcement just so the powers that be could stay ahead of the curve and be able to spout some more BS whenever they feel like it. and not look so bad, be able to spend it. Well, I say to those that wish to have us sit on it and spin it, I think you need to do it yourself, because we're not as dumb as you think. I'm talking to you, Trudeau. I'm talking to you, continuity of government. I don't even know who you are, which you think that would be publicly available knowledge to citizens since we pay your bills. I mean, it is what it is. Now, the globalists are always going to be in our hair and think they're in control as long as they have establishments like the Federal Reserve. That when that was erected, that's when we were sold out as slaves to the corporate machine. And if you think I'm full of it, you need to look at the history given to us by the people that are indoctrinating us. They tell us everything they are up to our faces, and by doing nothing, we are complicit. It doesn't matter whether it was written down in a small little section in a giant infrastructure plan, or if it's all publicly available. And those with the ears to hear and the eyes to see can find it if they want to. It's not hard, but we're responsible as people for letting it get this far, because we have not been doing our due diligence, and we've just been mesmerized by these talking heads that always seem so perfect, when in reality, most of the people that we have spent our lives watching on TV and thinking are perfect are the worst kind of people ever. I'm not saying all of them are, but just their complicity and being able to switch through local news channels all over the United States and national news alike, and hearing almost word for word the exact same stuff, those shouldn't be considered reporters. You are parrots and you're trash. Every one of you liars. Now, we may have basically given consent by not doing something about it sooner and lost our sovereignty to this system of slavery that we have been born into. And by not, I don't know if we're considered complicit because we didn't figure it out sooner or what, but I don't want to be a slave anymore, and neither should you. They are pitting race against race, which we're all the same race. We're all human. It's time to prove it. Stop letting them compartmentalize us. Now, our responsibility, first thing, I'm going to actually end this soon and let anyone that may be out there, I'm going to post links in the YouTube, and I'm sure it'll go to Twitch and my LinkedIn. If there's a chat on LinkedIn, I'm going to post the link so you can hop on and join me in the stream if you have any corroborating evidence. And I ask that you have sources readily available, or if you have questions that I might be able to answer that I didn't think to cover regarding the chain of where money came from, how I came to certain conclusions. Because like I said, Miss Millennial Millie Weaver, she handed me a puzzle piece, and if that was her doing her due diligence and my joke of a live stream the other night, then she handed me 2 puzzle pieces. And that's about the plane in Ukraine and all the extremely off the wall amount of weapons. And there's rumblings of more than just regular weapons being on that shipment, but that's not for me to say. But we are on the brink of World War III, and Russia isn't the only people that are going to be on that side. And I vote that we pump the brakes until all this other stuff is solved on everyone's own home turf and we get these globalist agendas out of our hair. We don't want to build back better. We want to tear down the system and rebuild it the right way. I mean, even the founding fathers didn't implement their own plans the way they had intended. I mean, we need to do away with the entire system that is here in America. Like, you can't just keep putting band-aids on a crack in the Hoover Dam and expect it to fix a single thing. You're only delaying the inevitable. We need to bring, I don't know, I'm spitballing at this point because I haven't heard or come up with anything better. I believe that we should take a lot of the federal power back and put it in the hands of the state, because I mean, there's no need in having a huge government for anything but maybe organizing things between states and helping organize things, you know, stuff like that. And maybe organizing the United States of America's militia, should we need, or military, should we need to take some sort of action against foreign entities, whatever. You get the point. You get what I'm trying to say. I've never been good with words, but this country means more than the stars to me. And this life, this illusion that we were indoctrinated into believing, I want it to be real. And I think that we have the power to make it happen without bloodshed, or at the very least, without going to war. I mean, there is always a way. I have never in my life been in a position where I have had to hit someone out of anger or participate in any real fight or anything I would consider a fight, because words have done more than enough. I've never ran from a fight either, so don't even think that's it. All I've had to do is stay level-headed and be myself. And people are all people, man. I mean, we can be different as the day is short anymore. But that means nothing. We're all still human. And every human that I've come across to some degree has that level of passion inside of them, that spark that makes them human. Now, maybe there's exceptions, like I don't know, a friend of mine had someone call him Morawi. I don't know if that was because he was one that was more human, like I claim to be, or if he was different. But Morawi, over in Iraq, I guess, means like us. And maybe there's people that are different. Maybe some have a different kind of light, but regardless, we are all human. It's time to prove it. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat to be able to hop on here if anyone has any plans or sourced information that they would like to share. And I invite people to prove me wrong if they can. I am down for civil debate, and I believe that debate is one of the things that became feared in this country because of all the people like Pelosi and Hillary Clinton even, who sit there and tell you to your face exactly, or and say that they are against exactly what they're doing. And they always do the exact opposite of what they say. And that, it's a little creepy because you can prove it time after time. But let me grab the link here, and I will let people in if there are people that would like to be in, and then we'll conclude. And I'll put the links to my sources up after the conclusion. All right, where do I grab it from here? There we are. All right, and if you once you click the link, you'll be put into like the back room, and you'll be able to private chat and all that if you've done StreamYard before. But I'll be able to see when people get in the back room, and then I can let others in. All right, here's the link, and no one needs to repost it because it'll go here. It'll go to Twitch, and if there's a chat on LinkedIn, it'll go there too. And if anyone asks for it again later on and can't scroll up mods, then yeah, feel free to help them out. Here's the link. I'm actually fairly surprised that there's not someone there's not someone wanting to come in here and do things. I don't believe I am wrong. I believe that I don't see any other reason for all the things to happen the way they have unless these globalists are pushing for us to attack the odd man out that's the only person keeping his cool over there, which is Putin. And people are having their strings pulled. Also, everyone is against Russia when I have seen no attempts to even badmouth anyone else. Really, they just sit. Putin just sits there all calm and collected because he knows it's a charade. He knows what's up, and I've always felt in my gut that he's not as terrible as these. Especially, I love you guys for being in service to this country, but you guys get lied to a lot, and you're trained to not question the orders, even if the orders are for you to do something bad. So I blame no one who has had to do something in the service of the country that was less than respectable, or whether the people question their stuff due to indoctrination so little that they honestly believe that they were doing something valiant. But I mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Wheelbarger, but I believe that you are wrong. I know you've been there, boots on the ground, but I don't think Russia is the problem here. I think that the globalists are, and I know that the UN is a large portion of the problem. And if I leave this country, since I have dual citizenship with Asgardia, I am actually allowed to. I could be kidnapped, and if they felt like it, that is a kingdom, and the bylaws state that I could be whisked away if I step foot out of the country if they wanted me for something. And who knows? For all I know, they'll get a deal from the UN saying we'll make you an official, 100% official country, recognized by everyone and announced everywhere if you take this guy and get rid of him. And then maybe some FBI agent will throw me in a trunk and take me across the border to Mexico. And then next thing you know, I'm disappeared. Like, yeah. And Western medicine, the pharmaceutical industry. I'll go back to that. Stop forcing drugs on people and telling them they need it. We have had technologies based on Tesla that have been FDA approved 100%. And you guys have some of these machinery, yet you want to use things like, for instance, chemotherapy. I know there's cures for cancer. I have helped to shrink a malignant tumor and make it benign. I didn't do it on my own, but it is possible using just the power of belief and energy. Chi, ki, whatever you want to call it, because, man, I just wish that that person would pop on the stream right now, because, man, I am happy you're still around. And that was the most beautiful and magnificent, mind-blowing experience in my life. And there were 7 or 8 of us in total there participating in that beautiful thing, and that changed my life forever. That's when I truly started believing in people, and I have not even needed to go to a doctor since. I'm not going to tell you to take that as medical advice, because lawyers are vicious, but that's my story. And I feel as healthy as I did in my early 20s. So, and of course I maintain and I take vitamins, stuff like that. So unless you hear my full life story, don't even attempt to stop going to the doctor without, yeah, you get what my point. But all right, it's looking like no one's wanting to come on here, so I feel like I've covered a lot here today. And if people, depending on the comments on this video later on, I may end up, well, if my channel is not removed, if it does become removed, know that I will come back with the fire of 1,000 suns, and I will find a platform, even if I have to rebuild the Library of Alexandria with my own bare hands on the blockchain where you can't touch it. So don't poke the bear, please. And by the bear, I mean pump the brakes on Putin. No World War III, and leave me and everyone else alone, because people are waking up. We've hit critical mass in this world as far as people waking up go. They just have not had someone to motivate them and make them so people are not afraid anymore, because people shouldn't be afraid. When they keep us home and locked down because they're afraid of what happens when we gather, and it's not physical violence they're afraid of. They know that, just like whether you are religious or not, whether you believe Jesus exists or not, it doesn't matter. Jesus stated that when 2 or more people gather, you know, that God is there, but in so many words, but it's not God as a personified individual. It's that spark of divinity every one of us has in there. That was like, it's like when you attend a spoon bending circle, like they used to host at my local college. You have to have someone who has witnessed the spoon bending process prior to be in that circle for it to work, because when one person believes and other people believe in that person, then it will happen. We co-create reality. I'm just going to say it. Whether you believe it or not, that's the way it is. It's like, I'll give another example. The people in New Mexico, Arizona, wherever they are, that gather with the intention to see UFOs, and they all just get together and they sit there and they just will them there. And I don't know whether they're making them appear, or whether they're calling for him. But I mean, to my knowledge, to every story I've ever heard or clip segment I've ever seen, it's been a never fail situation. They've always saw exactly what they came to see. So if the human spirit, the will of mankind is not able to manifest things, or will the it's like, it's not you that bends, it's not the spoon that bends, but it is you and the will of the spoon cooperating to make the bending happen. If that makes more sense. I feel like I needed to take it a step further than the Matrix, because we're not in the Matrix. We're in something that I don't have words for, but I'll tell you one thing. They don't want us gathering together because we could be in control if we wanted to be. And that's what they're afraid of, regardless of anything else. So all we have to do is stand our ground and don't believe the bullshit. Because I mean, the Holy Spirit, the spark of divinity, that the divine light that resides in everything living anywhere, the down to the harmonics, the sounds, the golden ratio that is in everything. Take a magnifying glass, look at your skin. Take a magnifying glass, look at a lizard or a tree. It's all just divine, and it should show you that if we are even a fragment of whatever spark created all life, then when we gather, doesn't that mean that we should have the same aspects in a larger number than the 1%, we could call them? Because there's no reason that they should be putting us all through this hell, this slavery. I mean, I can't imagine anything worse than living my life out knowing that I have been in slavery forever and I did nothing. And I don't know how some of you can even have an inkling of the things, the realizations, the truth that they could have done something about the situation they and everyone they love were in, but instead sat by because they thought that for a second, even though what I might be saying might feel right, they still doubt themselves. They think, man, but what can I do? It's not what can I do? It's there's others out there. You just need to know that you're not alone. And you'll never be alone. No one is truly alone. All you have to do is stand up and show yourself. And if we all stand up, then their dominoes are done. They think they've already won, and that's why we have the advantage. And once again, I'm going to stress this. Truckers, I respect the hell out of you guys, but I don't respect the people that have manipulated the situation and used you as controlled opposition to the establishment. And I don't even want to call you guys a distraction, because you guys are doing what you truly believe in and what is truly right as human beings. Mad respect for that. But there's more that needs to be done by everyone, all of us. The world spotlight was on you so that the spotlight wouldn't be on places like Ukraine, because, I mean, it's been coming out in large part about the misdeeds of pretty much everybody, because thank goodness it's nearly the end of an age with grand solar minimum and all that. Karma has been coming so much faster, and it is a beautiful thing, guys. a beautiful thing. I love having a transparency in my life to where I don't have to hide anything, because I do my absolute damnedest to treat others how they want, how I would have them treat me. And when I say I'm going to do something, I become my biggest critic to force myself to do what I say without trickery and without fail. Because being steadfast in what you say with action and using the golden rule when it comes to other people, that's all you need to do in this life to get everything you could ever dream of and live the best of lives. And if we all band together and do that, well, I don't even think I need to say more. What do you mods think? You think it's time to stop there? Or even my own mama gave me a thumbs up. Thank you, mama. All right, well, since no one wants to join in, it's been about an hour and a half. I will let you guys do that thing you do when you do what you do. And once again, I don't want anyone to look to me for guidance. I just want you to look deep into your own hearts and think, is there a possibility that this guy has said some things that is true? I ask that everyone do their own due diligence, follow their gut, because if you are a good person, then there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to trust your gut 100%. And you should do your own due diligence, look into the things I've spoke about, and I know plenty of real reporters out there will, if they hear this. And I just pump the brakes. No World War III, no Civil War. Don't even worry about these roundheads that are trying to push these crazy far left agendas. And let's stop using this far left, right, conservative, Republican, Democrat stuff here in the States. It's part of the problem. More compartmentalizing that does not need to be done. Let's just skip the nonsense. Put the power back in the hands of the states. Start up state militias again. I don't know if the National Guard has taken the place of that, but I mean, I think it should even be more community driven in each state. We need to get communities going, because if something does happen due to solar cycles, I mean, we should know that local farmer. We should have farms of our own. We should actually teach our kids how to grow, because it's been so long since I've heard a kid say, ask someone older than them or whatever, hey, can we make something grow? Let's start a garden. I want to plant a tree. I remember hearing that all the time when I was little. I mean, kids would get mad at their parents if they didn't have time to help them plant an apple tree or plant some vegetables. I don't know. We were brainwashed even into not liking vegetables, because that's all Hollywood was about. Like when it came to kids, ew, vegetables. No. But you know, there comes a time when we need to put away the indoctrination and open our eyes and see what's real. And I believe that time is now. And if we wait too much longer, you're going to be sitting there holding your hats while there's no time left. You're going to be facing mutually assured destruction if things keep going the way they are. I mean, I can't speak for Putin himself, but I mean, I have some very good friends in Russia that I trust, and they are very intelligent people. And they said that's what it's going to be, because Russia's well aware that they don't have the ability to win an all-out regular war, and they're not going to back down either. So let's think this through. There's always a solution, and there never has to be violence or bloodshed. Never. I've never been faced with a situation where there had to be a single ounce of violence. If everyone could have just understood things from a indisputable fact point of view and stop with this insane idea that everyone's truth is their own. That is ridiculous. There's personal truth, and then there's the higher indisputable facts. And if people just try, they can stop being stubborn and see things from the point of view of people that believe in real facts that have 100% immutable basis in reality, which I can't exactly say that, because if we co-create reality, then there would still have to be some kind of consensus, which means, one person's not going to change an immutable law of existence. So, I mean, there's always going to be a majority consensus, and that's what I mean by immutable fact. But all right, yes, people are calling for dinner, and it is currently an hour and 36 minutes into this, so I'm gonna stick a fork in it. I may be back, I may not, who knows, but I might not even get to download this after YouTube processes it. So fuck the algorithms. Hopefully I get through. I've been lucky so far and disobeyed every single rule on all the big tech companies' platforms at every turn and have won every time. So enjoy. I got the magic stick. Good night.